Hello, welcome to the National Weather Service Pocatello's review of the 2024 fire season and the 2025 fire season outlook for refresher training for areas in eastern Idaho for 2025. Here's what you'll see in this presentation. We'll look at environmental conditions compared to last year. We'll look at the expectations for drought, the Pacific influences, as in what's happening with the El Nino Southern Oscillation. We have expectations for temperatures and precipitation, and then the forecasted fire activity so far for the fire season by the Great Basin Predictive Services Unit. And we'll also look at the fire weather program, the changes that are occurring this year, and available products and services. So we'll start out with what happened last year. Here's August 2024. You can see the surplus of precipitation indicated by the green shading over most of the Eastern Idaho Dispatch Center. And that put a early end to at least red flag season, and the extreme fire conditions was definitely season slowing. But you can see in the western portions and the Salmon Chalice and portions of the Twin Falls BLM and lower elevations even in eastern Idaho, there was still a deficit going on. And departure from normal in September, you can see it was more of a north-south split, with the north being about average, with actually the portions of the eastern Idaho Dispatch in the north having surplus. But the further south you get, south of Idaho Falls, you can see it was running a surplus, or rather a rainfall deficit for that month. And then for the rest of the autumn, October to December, you can see it was actually pretty dry, especially in central Idaho, or it was near normal for the southern portions. And then for January to March so far this year, you can see we're right around average, with generally the mountains of eastern Idaho getting a little bit of a surplus, but again, it's not by much. So where does that put us? Here's the snowpack as of April 1st, which is usually our maximum snowpack time period. You can see most locations were above, or I should say near normal to above normal, with the exception of the Medicine Lodge Creek drainage areas here, which is part of the Eastern Idaho Dispatch Center. That compares to last year, we're about the same for a lot of locations, except for the southern Idaho, where there was a much bigger surplus, and then it was all the Salmon Chalice was actually below normal, fairly significantly, 85% of normal. And this is what it currently is. This is averages compared to what it normally is on April 18th. You can see there's definitely been some warmer temperatures, which have brought these locations on the northern end of our forecast area down below to well below average for this time of year, whereas in the southern half we're still running surpluses for mid-April. Okay, so what's going to happen here on the north end? You can see what's happening with the snowpack, that it will, in this area, it looks like it is going to melt earlier than it did last year. So it looks like here a total melt before June arrives. For the south end in the Bear River Basin, you can see again, we're probably right around normal for this time of year, slightly below what happened last year. And so we are looking for a total melt out. Again, this should probably be around mid-June or so. For the upper Snake River Highlands, we take White Elephant as an example. And you can see here it's about running this just below last year. And so total melt out should happen sometime in this time period, which would be end of May or early June, instead of mid to late June. And then Pine Creek Pass, sort of the central portion of the eastern Idaho highlands. You can see we're running behind last year, but right around normal. And so again, we would expect everything to melt off there by the second half of next month. Finally, down south, Emigrant Summit is running about the same as last year and the same as what normal would be. And so we would expect total melt out here prior to June 1st. Here's the drought monitor conditions currently. You can see widespread extreme drought in the desert southwest, but for the northern Rockies, that area is more limited to areas on the Front Range. And then it does, though, creep into Lemhi County and into portions of Custer County. We have some moderate drought conditions that have developed. We have abnormally dry conditions going through almost all of Custer County and into the northern end of Blaine County. Same here for a lot of the Upper Snake Highlands and the eastern mountains all the way down to the Utah border. Here's what we expect as far as what's going to be happening with the El Nino Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. We expect it to stay neutral conditions. This is also brought out by the various models. So you can see there's a spread on either side of the zero line where this anomaly, you look for it to be it'll be a El Nino if it's above the +5 range, a La Nina if it's below the -5. You can see most predictions are right in between. So we do expect neutral condition to continue, but there is a significant chance that a La Nina could also develop by the late summer or early fall. So what does that mean? Well, it means here in the spring, a dry spring for us. This is moderate confidence. This is pretty rare for the western states of being below normal for seasonal precipitation for May, June, and July. You can see here a very high confidence of especially our southern tier being above normal, and again, high confidence that will be above normal for the rest of pretty much all of southern Idaho. Then for the late fire season, again, high confidence of being warmer than normal, and still a weak confidence that we will be below normal for the late summer. So this all to me says definitely warmer than normal, definitely having less than usual amount of precipitation. As far as what the drought will do in 2025, for the early part of the fire season through July 31st, you can see here that it's basically expected to stay the same in Idaho. The only place where it's spreading is these areas in yellow. So what does that mean for us? We have high confidence of warm temperatures. We have moderate confidence of below normal precipitation, especially early on, which will set the stage. I mean, and normally late summer we don't receive much anyway. So that all to me says could be a big fire year, depending on what happens with human activity and, of course, lightning. Here's Predictive Services Outlook. Here you can see in April, as in May and most of June, we're expecting normal for this time of year. And when you get to July, most of our areas expected to be normal, especially for eastern Idaho, but above normal for lots of portions of California, areas to the west of us, and areas to the north of us. And of course, look at Texas and Oklahoma. So here's the fire weather program, what's going to be happening with it in 2025. There's no changes to our red flag warning criteria. It's still scattered thunderstorms. Usually when it's dry in nature, however, we will contact the dispatch areas to see if red flags are warranted. If we expect wetter thunderstorms, a lot will depend on, of course, on fuel conditions. And also the 3 hours of humidity being 15% or less, combined with gusts to 25 miles an hour in mountainous areas and 30 miles an hour in the Snake River Plain. That's been, almost 20 years now. There are still, though, some possible changes expected in the future. They're trying to unify the more than 400 different criteria that we have nationally into one provable, usable criteria all across the country. We'll see when that may happen, but it won't be this year. The fire weather suppression forecast will start on the morning of the 19th of May. There have been no zone changes as far as what areas they cover. This first one it will be our morning forecast. It's issued sometime after 3 a.m. and before 6 a.m. Two forecasts a day will start on Monday afternoon of the 16th of June. That would be pushed up if conditions become abnormally critical. Lightning activity level and Haynes Index are no longer a part of the fire weather program. Lightning activity level, you might also know as LAL. The probability of thunderstorms will replace the lightning activity level, as it essentially was a forecast of thunderstorm activity. when it came to forecasted LAL. Observed LAL is definitely something completely different. The Haynes Index currently does not have a replacement. However, look to our discussions in our Fire Weather Daily products. Look for mentions of instability. Generally, deeper mixing heights will indicate more unstable atmosphere. The moisture content of the air will also maybe describe more qualitatively, if not quantitatively. You may also want to take a look at the hot, dry, windy index if you are familiar with this. You do know that it is climatically determined. It's sort of more of a percentile, but it does incorporate wind, which is something Haynes Index never did. Spot forecast requests. If you remember the disaster it was last year, I will say this: it is still not foolproof, but it is improved over last year. This is the web address you can use to enter a new spot request. Just have ready with you your telephone number and email address contacts. Also have the location of the fire, of course its name, and then the drainage, acreage, and actual observations are always helpful, but this year they will not be necessary. We also have our YouTube channel. The channel address is NWS Pocatello. There's also links on our website on the front page. This briefing is done actually 365 days a year, not just during fire season. But during fire season, it will address fire weather concerns. It's usually less than 15 minutes, and it usually is issued by 6 a.m. every morning. The fire webpage has had some improvements made by John Keys, one of our fire weather focal points. Not going to go into detail with this short briefing, but you can check out the weather yourself at this web address right here. There's also INWS for field weather updates. These will come in the form of text messages on your cell phone you can set it up for, or email messages on your PC or on your tablet. Enrolling is easy. You can find instructions here at inws.nsep.noaa.gov. There's this register link here that brings you to this page, and you just fill in all this information. You have to provide a password, but you never have to change it, and you have that account forever. Some of the things you'll want to make sure you select as options as far as what criteria you want to see would be for short-term weather, the severe weather for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, fire weather for red flag warnings, non-precipitation advisories and warnings for wind, and other would include thunderstorms that don't reach our severe criteria but might be important to you. That's all I have. If you have any further questions, you can always contact us at area code 208-232-9357. Thanks for watching. Have a safe fire season.